I've had a dream. And I'm agitated. I need to know what I dreamed.
O king, may you live on forever. Relate the dream to your servants.
We will tell the interpretation.
No. If you don't make the dream known to me, along with the interpretation, you'll be dismembered. And your houses will be turned to public latrines. But if you do tell me the dream and the interpretation, you'll receive gifts and a reward and great honor. You've agreed to tell me something false and deceitful until the situation changes.
Deceitful?
Deceitful!
There is not a man on earth who can do what the king demands. What the king is asking is difficult. No one exists who can tell this to the king except the gods.
Ariok, seize them. Kill them!
Call the wise men. Hurry. By order.
What can we do to help?
Pray. Pray that Jehovah have mercy on us. Oh, Jehovah, surely you didn't bring us here just to die. What will people say? We told them that you are the God of the heavens, the only God who can reveal secrets. Please, vindicate yourself. Jira!
So yes, Daniel having a profound moment there in the privacy of his room, where we can only assume he's been told the meaning of the dream by Jehovah. Jehovah has stepped in, unfortunately, helped Daniel solve this riddle, this biblical game of guess what's on my mind, where Nebuchadnezzar is expecting everyone to tell him what his dream was without giving them any clues. Jehovah steps in and gives Daniel the solution, which he's about to relay to Nebuchadnezzar, and thus avoid being killed along with all of Nebuchadnezzar's wise men because they've been given this impossible challenge. Of course, the dream in question is that of Daniel chapter 2, the immense image, which we're about to see depicted.
Can you really make known to me the dream that I saw and its interpretation?
There is a God in the heavens who is a revealer of secrets. And he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what is to happen in the final part of the days. This is your dream. You saw an immense image. that image was standing in front of you. You yourself are the head of gold. But after you, another kingdom will rise, inferior to you. Then another kingdom, a third one of copper that will rule over the whole earth. As for the fourth kingdom, it will be strong like iron. The kingdom will be divided, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom will be partly strong and partly fragile. In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. And this kingdom will not be passed on to any other people. It will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms. Alone will stand forever. The dream is true, and its interpretation is trustworthy.
Quick, bring a fine robe and a necklace of gold. Burn incense before him.
I've got to be honest, I quite enjoyed that depiction of the immense image of Daniel chapter 2. The Watchtower geek inside me was rejoicing to see this dream, this Bible verse brought to life so vividly. Goodness knows how much time and effort and resources went into that CGI and creating those effects. It must have been very expensive and very, very time consuming. And we can argue as to whether it was really worthwhile, I suppose. I would probably argue no, it wasn't, at least from the point of view of trying to manipulate people. As a standalone piece of art that's bringing to life a well-known vision from the Bible, as long as there are no strings attached, yes, I can enjoy that. So I can enjoy it in isolation, just not when it's being used to manipulate people, in this case, into believing that Jehovah's Witnesses have knowledge of what's about to happen in the future. They actually use this immense image dream to point to Anglo-America as being a major world power that's in fulfillment of Bible prophecy. What they say is that the toes, where there's the iron mixed with clay, this symbolizes Anglo-America, and therefore we're living in the last days, because when the stone is cut from the mountain and it collides with the immense image, it collides with the toes, meaning in the time that we're living in, meaning Armageddon. Armageddon's going to destroy all of the nations, and the nations are going to be replaced by God's kingdom in the form of the paradise earth and the 1,000-year reign. So that's the spin that Jehovah's Witnesses put on this. And what most Jehovah's Witnesses don't realize is that they're not alone in pointing to this immense image and drawing fanciful conclusions about the end times and Bible prophecy. In fact, in my 607 video, I point out that William Miller, the Adventist preacher, leaned heavily on Daniel. And in fact, you can Google his chart in which he predicts the end in 1843. And what do we see prominently on that chart? If Tibor is gracious, we will see it now. There's the immense image in the top left corner. So other groups throughout history have pointed to this immense image and drawn all sorts of fanciful conclusions about when we might expect the end to come, in this case, pointing to 1843, and then later this was revised to 1844, which was the year of the Great Disappointment. William Miller was wrong. It doesn't matter whether you invoke Daniel or any number of Bible prophets or Bible verses. Ultimately, you're just selling a fantasy, a grim doomsday fantasy of the world ending and you being vindicated because you happen to be, by sheer luck, in God's one true religion. Jehovah's Witnesses are by no means alone in taking this view and in reading too much into passages from the book of Daniel, which, as I've already mentioned, is a forgery. Scholars look at this now and say, well, number one, Daniel as described here didn't exist. The character of Daniel seems to have been based on previous myths from other cultures. And number two, even if we grant that Daniel existed, how is he making all of these mistakes? How is he getting it wrong when it comes to Neo-Babylonian history? So yes, it was a wonderful scene, the scene with the immense image. But as with the rest of the Daniel drama, let's view it in a bit of context, shall we? Let's enjoy the spectacle of these incredibly elaborate and expensive visuals without buying too much into what they represent, namely this idea that Jehovah's Witnesses have unique insight and indeed clairvoyance when it comes to the unfolding of history and indeed the end of the world as we know it.